You had an interview with Israeli government spokesperson Aidan recently, and you confronted him on the death toll that has resulted from Israel's bombing campaign in Gaza. And I found it to be refreshing because it's not something you necessarily see that much in American media. I mean, and, just speaking of the interview itself, whatever you think of the justification for how Israel has been conducting this war, spokesmen for governments need to face tough questions. And that's just the most basic foundational job of the press. Is that how you see it and how you approach these interviews when it comes to this particular conflict, that what Israel is doing right now requires tough questions of the people that are representing them?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it shouldn't just be required; it should be mandatory.
Right.
All journalists should be giving everybody on the official side of this war a tough time, because there's a lot of disinformation, willful disinformation, a lot of blatant lying, a lot of people putting up just obvious propaganda on both sides, and they all have to be held to account so that the public can cut through all this propaganda and all this fake news and get, hopefully, to a better informed position of actual facts. It's very difficult, particularly in the fog of war. There's nothing new about that. The difference is social media inflaming the fog of war in this conflict like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, God knows what would have happened in World War II if Twitter, now X, had existed. Would Churchill have been able to execute his war plans in the way that he did, for example, against the Nazis, if every single action he took was amplified into a huge debate on X and perhaps skewed, as it often is, against what he was doing? So, these are really interesting debates for our time because of social media. But that interview you talked about with the Israel government spokesman, it was clear to me very quickly he didn't know how many Hamas terrorists they're killing.
Right.
So, once you know that, that's a really significant part of this debate, because many people, particularly in Israel, feel that Israel has an absolute right to defend itself in the way that it's doing, and that because Hamas immerses itself in civilian population, inevitably you will get large civilian casualties as you try to eradicate them. But you have to be able to know how many Hamas terrorists you're killing, particularly if the number of innocent civilians being killed, especially in a place like Gaza where 50% are children. When that death toll skyrockets in the way that it has, if you want to win the moral argument with the world watching, you have to be able to know how many you're killing. And I don't think, honestly, that Israel has a clue how many Hamas terrorists they're killing in this war. And that's going to be an increasing problem as they now wage this war in the south.